Hello, good people. This is Darrell with Personal Credit Solutions, and definitely want to welcome you to the video. As you know, the purpose of our YouTube channel is to provide credit education to our clients and to help them better understand the credit repair process. So always remember that bad credit is temporary. Anyone can have good credit in good time. So we're going to talk about a very broad topic today: credit, debt, and collections. It's going to take us about 4 videos to get through this, so we're going to try to keep them as short as we can so you can get a good understanding. I don't do videos just to do videos. I do videos because these are the questions that I get asked on a regular basis. This is the information that I see is needed that many people don't have. As always, many of you have a lot of this information, know a lot of this stuff. That's totally fine. I'd say about 75 to 80% of my clientele does not know all of this information in detail. This is helpful to you guys, so we definitely want to make sure we get it out to you. So like I said, we're going to talk about credit, debt, and collections. Some of the laws are going to be in effect here as well. I do want to let you guys know, as you see here, this phone number, I don't get a lot of calls here, but this is our office line. It's a line we advertise with, so on our Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and video channels, everything that we do in marketing, we'll be using that phone number. So some of you are not aware of that number. Some people call and they're confused by that number. So just to let you know. So part one, we're going to talk about credit and debt collections, right? Who needs credit and why? Let's talk about that. If you do not have cash to pay for everything, then you know you need credit. We all know about credit. We know what it is. We know it's needed to pay for things in installments, right? Or partially over time. We also need credit for convenience. We need credit to boost your credit scores, to purchase vehicles, to obtain credit cards. Of course, we know we need it for home purchases. A lot of us don't know that you do need it for insurance as well. Okay, insurance requires credit now. I've been in business 25 years, and I'd say the last 10, 15 years is when insurance companies became very serious about checking your credit before they even allowed you to, give you the insurance that you're requesting. So, we need it for vehicles, right? Rentals are very tough to get without credit. And also nowadays, something new since I've been in business is to obtain jobs. So as we can see, it's really very important. We know that. All right, what's in a credit report? Your credit reports contain the most personal information about you. As we know, your name, your address, your social, your date of birth. Your job information is on your credit report. Some of us don't know that. It is definitely there. Your credit scores, we know those are important. I do want to remind you guys, long as you're working with me, I don't want you to fall in love with the credit scores. It's not just me. We put too much emphasis on credit scores, and half the time we're not even getting the correct credit scores because we're getting Vantage scores from Credit Karma and our credit cards like Capital One and some of our banks. I do know many do offer FICO scores, but just focus on your FICO score. All right. Any information on the way you pay your bills. I mean, if we look at credit, what is credit? What is credit? Let's look at the actual definition. Let's take a look at that. Credibility. Capable of being believed, believable, a credit statement. Worthy of belief or confidence, trustworthy, a credible witness. Credibility is important. If you use credible sources, you can believe them as your readers can believe. Now, I didn't use a financial definition of credibility because I want to be basic with this. Listen, we have to understand that our credit tells people who we are. It tells people about our willingness to pay. Let's be honest, sometimes people have problems, right? A divorce can change a credible person. Anything like sickness or layoffs. So sometimes it's out of our control. That's why we're given the opportunity to rebuild our credit. But credibility is important, and I want everyone to start thinking about how they're being looked at. Make sure that the message that you're giving your creditors is that you are willing to pay your debts. What is a credit score? Let's talk about that a little bit. A lot of emphasis is put on credit scores by my clients. I see you guys are putting all your emphasis on credit scores. My scores haven't gone up. What's going on with my scores? Your scores are based primarily on your positive credit accounts and your pay history. Credit scores are a calculation of the information that appears on your credit report. This is how well you pay your debts. So that score is a factor of how well you pay your debts based on those 5 topics that we all know about, right? The pay history, utilization on your credit cards, length of time you had a credit account, credit mix and inquiries. Those 5 things are what your score is based on. Your score is not as important in the credit repair process as getting the negatives off your credit. Absolutely, your score is important. Of course, your score is important, but it's not as important as your history. When you're repairing your credit, what you really want to see is negatives coming off your credit, and that will allow you the opportunity to get more credit once you have those negatives removed, right? Credit scores range between that 350 and 900. They're different models. What you want to know is that anything between 450 to 550 is really, really poor credit. All right, you'll either probably get turned down on a regular basis, have high interest. You'll have that rate gouging that goes on in the car industry where they give you a very high rate and a very high down payment. This will make your payments higher as well. The credit score range that you want to be in is right here, the 640 to 720. Okay, that's where we want to be. That will get you the best interest rates. So that's what you want to be focusing on, is getting your scores to that point. Yes, we know that, let's get a little laser here. Yes, we know that you should be able to get positive credit with those scores. So keep that in mind. The higher the rate, the lower the interest, the lower the risk. Excuse me, the higher the scores, the lower the rate and the risk. So creditors, of course, are willing to deal with you. We know the higher the score, the better, right? What is bad credit? Well, bad credit is when you have those scores that are between 350 and 580. I just gave a general range. Sometimes you can't get anything with a 600. Okay, but you definitely want to consider bad score to be under 600. It's going to prevent you from getting jobs in some industries that deal with money or finances. You can be turned down for loans and even insurance. So do you have any of these things on your report? These are the items. There's 9 of them listed here. Okay, so we have 9. Actually, there's 10 items here. Public records and tax liens are in the same category, right? Public records includes tax liens, judgments, bankruptcies, even foreclosures, which are not listed here, would be considered in the public records. So these are the accounts that we want to make sure we don't have. Yes, we know if you have a bankruptcy, that's going to be there a while. We are working a bankruptcy program that is really good, so we're going to be pulling that out as soon as we get some good results from some of the test clients that we're working on. I will tell you that there are some things that even if we get off your credit, which happens often, we're talking about child support, alimony, which is not listed here. You know, I don't think I can spell that really good with this thing, but alimony is not dischargeable in bankruptcy, and it's also a public record, so that's going to be in the courthouse. Now, alimony, child support, you also have student loans and taxes. These are the things that you can't discharge. You can't get out of them. Not even with the bankruptcy. You can't get out of them. You're going to have options of getting these off your credit, which I've never seen alimony on the credit reports. These can come off your credit, but they still have to be dealt with. My method is to help people get their student loans in the rehab program. I'm going to tell you, you still have to pay your child support. You have to work it out with the court system. It does not have to be on your credit, but it does have to be taken care of. And we all know that taxes will do garnishments on your payroll check. They also put liens on your bank account. So we definitely want to make sure we take care of those. How long can bad credit stay on your report? Well, I'm just going to try to get through this quick because I'm already at 9 minutes. So we're going to finish this up with just a couple of more slides. But if you look at the majority of your negatives are going to be allowed to stay on your credit for 7 years. Now, Chapter 7 bankruptcy is when you get rid of everything. You discharge everything, you're left with a zero balance, right? And the chapter, it should be 13 here. Let's change that to 13. The Chapter 13 is when you work out a plan to pay your creditors back, right? You'll pay on that from anywhere from 3 to 5 years. And you'll pay back maybe a portion of your debt. You will not pay back all the debt that you defaulted on. You'll wind up paying around 25 to 50% of your debt. This can stay on your credit. Actually, Chapter 13 is coming up here. There it is there. So this can stay on your credit for 7 years if you pay everything off, okay? So a Chapter 13 will stay on your credit 7 years if you pay all your creditors back and you complete the process. Otherwise, you will wind up having that remain for 10 years. So a Chapter 13 can remain on your credit for 10 years. And this is called a dismissed Chapter 13. I'm not going to write that in there, but a Chapter 13 would be dismissed if you didn't pay it, okay? So if you don't pay that Chapter 13, it will go to a dismissed status. Now, Chapter 7 is for personal bankruptcy. 11 and 12 are business bankruptcies, so we really don't need to talk about those much. So these are all discharging all your debt. They stay on there for 10 years. Chapter 13 stays on your credit for 7 years if you pay it out. If you dismiss it and don't pay it out, you're going to wind up paying on that, seeing that Chapter 13 remain on your credit for 10 years. All right, unless, of course, you do something about it. And when we say that, we're talking about, having your credit repaired is the best way to turn this around. You got to ask yourself, why do credit repair companies continue to exist? Because it works. So keep that in mind. All right, so good credit is what we're shooting for. When you have good credit, creditors want to see those scores between 650 and 720. Great credit reports are 720 and above. Usually don't see people get into the 800s much. I have seen a few people get into the 800s, but 800s are not what your goal should be. It's not a realistic goal. With 800s comes many years of credit history, comes with having a very large mix of accounts. When we say mix, we mean, do you have the different types of credit accounts that are out there? Do you have personal loans, auto loans, mortgages, credit cards, credit lines? These types of things are what they're looking for. You have to have a really long history to get into the 800s, and your credit ratio is going to need to be excellent. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying for right now, get the great credit scores. What's wrong with great credit scores? Excellent credit scores are definitely the way you want to go, and you want to gravitate towards those excellent credit scores. You want that great history as well. The history, in my opinion, is more important than your scores, because if you have a good history, you're going to have good scores. But the thing is, when your history is good, you're telling the bank that you're credible, and that's when the bank is willing to lend you money, not necessarily on your scores. How many creditors don't judge you by your scores? There are many, many, many creditors that don't judge you by your scores, okay? So just keep that in mind. Your history is the most important. Pay your bills on time. We know this is important. You need to have a perfect pay history for 24 months to be looked at as a very credible borrower. Be able to obtain loans, vehicles, and jobs by doing that. And of course, what's the best thing about it? You're going to feel better. You're going to have more confidence, and you're not going to be embarrassed about your credit. So that is going to be the end of part 1. We have 4 parts to this series. So that's the end of part 1. I want to thank you guys for watching and learning and beginning that process of educating yourself so you can be better with your credit. And we'll be back shortly with the second video. Welcome back, good people. We're going to be talking about part 2 of the Credit, Debt, and Collection series. This time we're going to talk about the Fair Debt Collections Act. Many of you don't know that there is a law that protects you against your creditors. We're going to look at that today. And I just want to remind you guys again, the purpose of our YouTube videos is to provide great credit education to our clients and help them better understand the credit repair process. Now, we want to work with beginners more. Advanced credit consumers, you're out there, you know a lot of this, that's great. 80% of my clients don't know the basics or need more instruction on the basics. So that's what we're here for. We're going to be doing consulting, as I've done my whole career for the 25 years I've been at it, on a regular basis. So continue watching, and we do appreciate that. Now, the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. Let's talk about that. This is the law that allows you to be protected from unfair debt collection practices, just like it says, like the Fair Credit Reporting Act. It tells you what it does in the law. It provides fair credit reporting to consumers. The Fair Debt Collection Act, Collection Practices Act, does the same thing, but it protects you against creditors, your collection agencies. These agencies are required to follow some guidelines to make sure that they're not harassing you. Let's take a look at some of the things that we expect our debt collectors to do. I'm not going to read every word of these because there's quite a bit of them, so let's try to get through this. Debt collectors should properly identify themselves. Listen very close to this, guys. When you get a call from a collection agency, don't be afraid to answer the phone. There's 2 things you shouldn't do. Number 1, never identify who you are. Do not identify yourself. Do not say, yes, I am this person. They're going to ask you who you are. You make them identify themselves, especially during the initial contact. They should indicate their name, their designation, the collection agency, and the creditor they are representing. The name and address of the creditors must be provided. So if you ever ask for that information, it has to be given to you. Do not give them your information. They call you. They say, hello, is this Darrell Chabuera? I would not say yes. I would say, who is this? I would not give them any indication that I am that person. I would ask them who they are, and I would make them provide information of who they are. If they want to be rude or they don't want to provide that information, the call is over. There's no need for us to keep talking. If you have something you want to tell me, you're going to identify yourself. Identify your name and address as well. Now, the number 2 thing here, the collector should indicate the amount of the debt that you owe. That you can say, well, what are you saying? Are you saying that there's something owed? You can ask them that question. So most of the time they will tell you, okay? The collector should indicate the amount of the debt that they are tasked upon to collect. Now listen, I am going to make a exception here. If you know you have this debt and you want to pay this debt, then you go ahead and you identify yourself so that you can find out if you can get a settlement or negotiation. Continue on to number 3. The collector should send a written letter. So you say, hey, if this is a bill that you say belongs to this person, mail that bill out, get that in writing. Never pay a collection agency. Never pay a third-party collection agency if you do not have this in writing. If you do not have it, do not pay it. Do not discuss anything with them. Once you get information, check it out. Make sure they're a good company. Make sure they're legit. If you're my client, of course you should send me a copy of that letter. Just do a picture text. Take a quick picture text of the letter. Picture text, excuse me. Or you can email that letter to me. I'll give you the advice that you need on it. Also, number 4 here, the consumer must be informed of their rights. And you hear them say that, right? This is an attempt to collect a debt, blah, blah, blah. They always tell you that when they get you on the phone. The collector should respond accordingly through mail. So when the debtor files a dispute or even a request, that response could contain the verification requested or the confirmation to cease collections. Also, you have here that the collector should honor any request by the debtor to cease collection or communication. So you have the right, regardless if the debt is correct or not, they need to send a final notice to the debtor to inform them that the request will be honored and certain legal actions will have to be pursued. So the great news is you have the right to cease communication with this creditor. All right, they cannot call you, and they have to cease mailing you, calling you, or any communication if you do it the right way. We'll talk about that a little later. The collector is also only allowed to file a lawsuit where the debtor lives or where the contract is signed, at least when the situation calls for legal action to be taken. So I'll take this opportunity to let you guys know, of course, I have to say and disclose that I am not a lawyer. I am a credit specialist for 25 years, so I am not trying to give legal advice. I do not charge for legal advice, so I'm just giving you the laws as they are stated. You could look these up yourself. They're everywhere, easy to find. Now, if you want to stop the communication, here are the rights under the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. This is what they cannot do. All right, the debtors may contact you only one time per day. Now, this probably happens to a lot of you guys where you're being contacted on a regular basis, multiple times a day. How about this is against the law? Think about that. We can stop that. Debt collectors may contact you only between the hours of 8 and 9 p.m., whatever your time zone is. Debt collectors may not threaten, harass, oppress, or abuse you. Okay, so this rudeness, so you want to always be professional if you can with them, not giving them any reason to be rude or to threaten or harass you. Most of these people are regular people, guys. They're going to work with you just like they would any regular person. If they find a weakness, they might try to harass you or threaten you or bully you. And you definitely want to, keep that under control. But you can talk to these people. They're just like us. They're regular people with jobs. So they're willing to work with you if you're going to give them something that they need. Remember, their job is to get the money that you owe. So if you're not intending on doing that, there's no need for you to have the conversation. If you're being harassed, you let me know. I'll get it stopped. Debt collectors may not tell you what they can take or that they can take your house or your vehicle. I've had them do this. I had a customer one time told me that she got a call and she was an active client. I would have been able to stop this. And they told her if she doesn't pay $1,200, they're on their way with the sheriff to her house. So they're telling her that the collection agent is driving up to her house with the sheriff behind them to put her in jail. She doesn't know her rights. She gave him $1,200. Now, this was a debt that she owed, so she cleared the debt, but she could have saved that money. It was a third-party collection agency. They may not contact you at work if they know your employer disapproves of it. So listen, if they call you at work, that's not illegal. But if they call you at work and you say you may not call me at work, they can no longer call you at work. How can you prove you said it? How can you prove you told them that? You have to record the call, guys, right? Record the call. I know a lot of phones have the feature where you can record the phone call. Use that, get you a little recorder. They're very cheap. We know they're very inexpensive. If you go to Amazon, get a recorder. If you're going through this kind of thing, it's a small investment. Debt collectors may not lie when they're collecting the debts, such as falsely implying that you committed a crime. As I said before in the previous example, that happens a lot. Debt collectors must identify themselves to you on the phone. They have to do that. Debt collectors must stop contacting you if you ask them in writing to stop. If they violate any of these above, items that we list here, you can sue them in small claims court. Now, a lot of people are scared to go to court, but think about it. When you go to small claims court, there's no lawyer needed. It's just like the court TV we see on a regular basis. You do have to pay a filing fee of $150 or something, but that can be paid back to you if you're found, if you win your case. All right, so you can file against them in small claims court for $1,000 per occurrence. They can be fined. Exercise your credit rights and don't let them harass you or your loved ones. I have people tell me they call relatives. You definitely can stop that. So keep that in mind. If you are getting those harassing calls at work or home, you can stop them. You can contact me. I can help you. Collection agencies and collection attorneys are harassing people every day. Now, I'm not going to want to do all the work, you guys. If you find that you have this problem, you contact me. I'm going to have to get some information from you. For instance, I cannot send a letter, stop harassment or cease a communication letter, unless I have the name and address of the company. So at the very least, you have to give me the phone number. I can find that out. I can get a letter sent out. It would be certified mail return receipt on your behalf. I do this as a courtesy for all my clients. Of course, this is just a service that we offer, so you've already paid for it. All right. You have the right to stop them now by sending, like I said, a cease and communication letter. I would show you that letter, but I've said a lot of the terms that you find in that letter. You just have to have proof. And there's only two ways to get proof. And that's going to either be through certified mail return receipt letter or recording a phone call. Now, a debt validation letter is what I was talking about earlier, where you guys have to have the right to have that letter sent to you showing that you owe this debt. These letters quote the law and will stop all collection calls where you can sue these guys, okay? So keep in mind you have some rights of your own. You do not have to be harassed. As long as you have proof, like a phone call, certified letter. Look, I spelled that wrong. It should be certified letter, return receipt. We have these letters. We have these letters and documentation for you. Listen, I have 3 recorders. So if a customer gives me the phone number and the information for a collector that is harassing them, I will record my conversation with them. You can, of course, download that on your computer. There's your proof. Okay? Now, listen, I've done this for 25 years. I know I keep telling you guys this. I've done it for 25 years. I need you to think about that. What that's saying is I've been through this 25 years worth of clients. Think about it. I've done this hundreds of times, and it works every time. I cannot even right now think of a time that it did not work. So this does work. Okay, so let me know if you need help on that. We have these letters, as I said, and documents available to you today. I can turn you on to the location where you can get that law. You can look it up. It's called the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act online, and you can Google that right on your phone, right? Get that information. Thanks again for watching and learning today. And that is a misspelling there. We're going to correct that. All right, so there we go with the correction. Thank you for watching and learning today. I really appreciate when you guys learn. It's going to help you in the long run to understand your credit, understand how to keep your credit in a good place. And that's going to do it for part 2 of this video series. Thanks again. Welcome back, good people. This is Darrell with Personal Credit Solutions, where we provide credit education for beginners and advanced credit consumers. Again, the purpose of our YouTube videos is to provide credit education to our clients and to help you guys better understand the credit repair process. Always remember that bad credit is temporary, and anyone can have good credit in good time. So hang in there, be patient, and you can turn this thing around. Now, most of us have had bad credit for years. So giving it 6 months, or maybe a little more than 6 months, should not be too much for you guys to hang in there with, right? So let's hang in there and keep it going. All right, part 3 in our series today, we're going to really be dealing with the federal laws and just some tips on what is out there on the federal laws that we have. So let's start here. You have a right by federal law to do some things here, right? Let's talk about what those are. One is to get your credit reports. All right. You have a right to get those through annualcreditreports.com. We have a video that tells you, walks you through the process. It's not the easiest process. So I would recommend doing that every year, but I would also recommend using some of the other services, right? The Credit Karmas, freecreditreport.com, maybe even pay for a service like Identity IQ or something like that. All right. The federal law says you have a right to improve your credit reports. This is your right. So why not? Why sit there and wait on your credit to be repaired? Why sit there and not repair your credit and wait for things to come off your credit? The 7-year rule is ridiculous. Who can wait 7 years to obtain good credit? It's very difficult. You have a right to raise your scores. You have the power to raise your scores. You can do that with positive pay histories and other things. Keep the inquiries low, guys. The inquiry should be no more than 5 every 2 years. I know that seems impossible, but it's not. Now that's mainly for revolving credit. You shouldn't have more than 3 to 5 inquiries per year. That will really keep you in a good place. But creditors honestly don't want you to have 8 to 10 inquiries on your credit. And since inquiries last for 2 years, you definitely don't want to overdo it with the inquiries, right? You have a right to stop collection calls, as we see here. We talked about that in the second part of this video series. You have a right to stop these guys from calling you. Some of you are just saying, hey, I'm going to answer the phone. You know, I'm an advocate of answering your phone. Don't hide from the collection agencies. You let them know you do not want them to call. You let them know that you know your rights according to the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act that we talked about, and you can stop those calls. Now you have a right to protect yourself from identity theft as well. So get educated on credit identity theft. It's a fast growing crime, so you definitely want to make sure it doesn't happen to you. These are some of the laws coming up here that are credit laws. Okay, we have the Fair Credit Reporting Act. We just did a video on the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act, Part 2. There's also a law called the Fair Credit Billing Act, the Fair and Accurate Transactions Act, and the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. There are 5 laws here. I really don't want to get into each one because I don't want to make the video longer, but maybe we can do a short video on each law and describe it in more detail. Some of these you'll not enact, but some of these you could use to help yourself, right? And help improve your situation and your credit. All right. Let's talk about identity theft. It's one of the fastest growing crimes in America. They say here Arizona is number 1. So definitely be careful out there, right? You can protect yourself from identity theft, though. There's a lot of federal laws that help you protect yourself. I have one client right now that I'm just going to give you the scenario. I can get a negative off the credit because it's identity theft. But what they require is a police report. Walk into the police station, tell them you need to do a police report on a particular item that's on your credit, give them the name, they'll help you fill out the document, and you're out of there. Now, I know some people are leery about going to the police station. Some people can't. They have, something going on. I understand that. But if you don't do that, you're hurting yourself because you can get these things off legally. The federal law protects you there. She doesn't want to go to the to the police station and do the report. So the item is going to stay there. I don't know why we would let something like that stay there. So I'm still encouraging her to go and do it. So hopefully she will. You can protect yourself though by doing some of these tips that we're going to talk about here. One of them is to not give your social out freely. All right. Just be careful about that. Shred any personal and confidential information. All right, people go in your trash, right? So you definitely want to make sure you don't give them that opportunity. Do not carry your social security number or card in your purse or wallet. And I used to do this for years. And once I got more educated, I stopped doing it because I realized this is a really uh, good way to commit fraud against you if somebody gets that card. And I don't think I'm the only one who's lost my wallet or lost an important document in life, right? We've all done that. I think I've done that twice. So make sure you don't carry your social security number or card in your purse or wallet. Keeping your wallet or purse with you at all times. My wife was telling me about a friend of hers who, coworker actually, left her purse in the car for just a second. Somebody broke in and took the purse. It also happened to a relative. So definitely keep those things with you at all times. Don't leave them in the car. Your car can get stolen. That's what happened to the relative. Their car was stolen with their purse in it. If someone is calling you for information, then they should have your info. Do not give them anything unless you make the call or unless you verify the information. Okay, you can ask them questions. What are the last four of my social? What is my address? You have a right to do that. Make them prove to you they know who you are. Make them prove to you they're a legitimate company. Do not just give your information out. Look at the credit reports every 6 months or at least once per year. Now, I would expect my clients to be wanting to look at their credit reports 2 to 3 times a month, 1 to 2 times a month. That's what I usually hear you guys are doing. Technically, you only need to do that once a month. Your credit is only going to be refreshed once a month. So going back and forth like Credit Karma tries to get you guys to do every day, every 2 days, my score went up, down 10 points or 5 points or 3 points. They're designed to get you on their site. That's their goal. You do not need to look at your credit score that often, once a month. I can say it over and over again, and sometimes people don't care to listen to that, but once a month is all you need to check on your credit. All right, let's talk about saving money here. Just some tips. This is a very good idea. Also a great way to get out of debt. Also a great way to keep your utilization down. Great way to set up a solution to maybe settling on a collection or charge off and getting it cleared, getting it taken care of on your credit. Put at least 5 to 10% of your pay away in a savings account. It's a great idea. Do a monthly budget and try to stick with it. Everyone should have a budget, including me. I should have a business budget. I should have a personal budget. Have a budget. What is a budget? It's nothing more than you knowing exactly what you have to pay every single month. What is due? Put that down on paper. You can work around that. You can plan around that. It's a very good idea. Now, this is what good credit, people with good credit, this is what they do. Another thing I always tell people, excellent credit scores and good credit comes with certain habits. One of them is keeping your cards paid in full every month. Why use your cards and run them up every month? It's not necessary. It's a bad idea. Besides paying your bills on time, your credit utilization or the balances on your credit cards or revolving accounts is the number 2 most important thing to your credit score. So if you really want to protect your credit score, don't use your cards unless you need them. If you have multiple cards, only use one. Keep the other cards open. You're really helping your utilization a tremendous amount. Keep the cards under 20-25%. Ask yourself, do I really need this? Or do I just want it? Now, we have to put our big boy pants on, right? Our big girl pants on. And we have to be mature about the way we use our money. It's what got us in trouble in most cases. Listen, I've been here before in my younger years. I'm 55 now. So, when I was in my 20s, I ruined my credit. I ruined it once out of college and once after divorce in my 20s. And since then, I've been able to keep it in order. But the first time I ruined my credit is because we became overextended. Bought a new house, had furniture, bought 2 new cars, had some credit cards, had some loans. I literally paid my way out of that. But I had some problems for a while until I paid those cards down, those accounts off. but you do not need everything that you see. Everything in this country is pushing you to buy. You have to have some discipline, guys. Buy cheaply. You don't have to have the best of everything, right? We see that all the time. Everybody wants to wear name brand this and name brand that. I'm not telling you guys what to do and what not to do, but we're trying to come up with solutions, right, to keep our credit in good shape. So that's a good idea. Make a list of what you spend per month. Besides your budgeting that you do, you most certainly are going to have surprises. Who doesn't have surprises every month? So keep track of what your budget is monthly and also any unexpected expenses. Make a list of what you spend every month. You will be shocked on how much you really do spend and where you can save money. It'll give you some good ideas. We are open for questions, and many answers are now on our YouTube site. All you have to do is search Personal Credit Solutions of NC LLC or just Personal Credit Solutions, and you'll find our site and these videos. Anyone who's a client is getting information about this on a regular basis anyway. So we'll be available anytime for answering confidential questions, getting your credit reports and scores, helping you stop collection calls and unfair practices. That says packets, so that is not correct. But we'll move on anyway. And thank you for watching and learning today. And we'll get to part 4 shortly. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. This is Darrell with Personal Credit Solutions. We're here to provide credit education for beginners and advanced credit consumers. Purpose of our YouTube videos are to provide credit education to our clients and to help them better understand the credit repair process. Always remember that bad credit is temporary and you can have good credit in good time. Of course, we definitely want everyone else to check our videos. We appreciate the way the numbers are going up and people are watching our videos. So definitely appreciate that. We have a lot of leads that come in on a regular basis. So we definitely encourage you guys to check the videos and get information. I'm in this to educate my customers. I'm really trying to get to a point where I can speak to multiple customers, hundreds of customers at once. And that is why we really are pushing the YouTube channel now. So you definitely are welcome to go and check those things out. We know liking and subscribing is always great, so please do so. All right, we're going to talk today about the secondary credit bureaus, freezes and opting out, okay? Personal Credit Solutions is going to start every customer on this process first. So when you start working with us, we're going to freeze your credit with the secondary credit bureaus. So let's find out who they are and what they're about. There's literally 5 secondary credit bureaus, okay, that we consider to be the major ones. There are many more. I've heard people say there are hundreds of them. I've heard people say there are thousands of them. So we can't get too caught up with that, right? But there are 5 main secondary credit reporting agencies that you should know about. The first one is ChexSystems. ChexSystems. That is actually misspelled. There's an X there. Let's correct that. One moment. All right, had to change that a few places. Wanted to make sure that was correct. So they spell their name this way with the X. They also combine both words. ChexSystems deals with any types of checks you guys have been writing or your bank accounts. So when you apply for a bank account, they literally check ChexSystems nationwide. So if you have anything there that is a problem, you definitely want to get that resolved. We have a company called Lexisnexis, basically a housing company. They hold and house your information. They've been holding your information ever since you were an adult. So has this company, Innovis, which combined with SageStream. They used to be separate. They're now one company. You've got a company called CoreLogic or Teletrack. It's an Equifax owned company. And then you have ARS, Advanced Resolution Services. So we're going to talk about each one briefly just to give you an idea of how these secondary credit bureaus work. All right, what are the secondary credit bureaus? There are several small agencies that collect and sell different types of consumer information. Basically, guys, Big Brother is here. They have everything on you. Like, there is nothing you can hide when it comes to information. Your information is being housed by these companies on a large scale. These are huge companies. Many of them are billion-dollar organizations, and they get paid by selling this information. For instance, when you do a background check for a job, many times they're going to these companies to check your background. So they not only have your credit information, they have your personal information, where you've lived, any crimes you've committed, any public records. So these companies are housing all this information. So even though the credit bureaus don't have all of it, they're going to these agencies to get the information. And many times they're going to verify this information with these companies. And this is why we've put freezes on them, right? But they have different types of consumer information, and they give that out to businesses who need to make the decision about you. These smaller credit reporting agencies are also subject to the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So they're also bound by those laws, right? Which means you have the right to accurate and credit reporting, right? You're allowed to dispute any inaccurate information with the credit reporting agencies, and it has to be corrected or removed. So these can be challenged and corrected, just like the regular credit bureaus, the three main credit agencies, right? So let's talk a little more about check systems. They say it right here as a nationwide specialty consumer reporting agency. They're bound by the Fair Credit Reporting Act, as you see there, and clients regularly contribute information on closed checking and saving accounts. So you can get that information here. You can also get your report. You go to their site, you can request that report here. You can find out how to do a security freeze. So there's lots of information there. I don't think it's a bad idea to get your report from check systems, right? Why not? It's free, and you can make sure that there's nothing there that you don't know about. So this is not a bad idea. Check system is online. You see how it's spelled, just Google that and you'll find all the information about it. A few more details about it. Let's talk about it. You should review your check system's credit report at least once a year. Be sure there's no inaccurate information that could prevent you from switching banks or opening a new bank account. Now listen, they're saying negative information in your check system can make it so you cannot get a checking account. So that's why it's a really good reason to know what's on that report. So keep that in mind. You can always check systems, okay? We have Lexisnexis. We do a security freeze on Lexisnexis. Basically, we talked about it, right? They're housing your information. The credit bureaus are going to these companies to verify the information. Think about it. There's millions of disputes going out every day. If we talk about the number of items that are being disputed, if a client disputes 20 items on their credit report and you add that up with all the other clients disputing, they get millions a day. So a lot of this is digital. A lot of it is done by computers. So we're going to freeze Lexisnexis. They're the largest of the secondary credit bureaus. They're very, very popular. I have some mortgage companies that actually use Lexisnexis as a part of their process of qualifying their borrowers. One mortgage company I use uses all three credit bureaus plus Lexisnexis on the scores, right? They're going to be looking at your scores there and your history there. I've found that sometimes there are things that report only on Lexisnexis that give people problems. You might have no public records reporting on the credit bureaus, but then they'll see those on the Lexisnexis report. So that's why we put a freeze on that. Now keep in mind, you're going to get letters from this company when you start working with us that says a freeze has been placed on your report on your behalf. That will be done by us, okay? Innovis and SageStream used to be two different companies. Now they're the same company. Innovis bought out SageStream, So these are names we probably are not familiar with, but they're huge in the credit industry. As you see here, they say, welcome to a novice. We make it easy to order your report, dispute inaccuracies, and recognize fraud and identity theft. Click the button there to order your report, another report you can get free. Innovis. All right. Look that up if you want your report. It's a free report. We're not going to do this for you guys. If you need it and you want it, we'll help you get it. But, we're just going to direct you to the site. So one thing I do want to do later is walk through how to get these reports for each of these, and maybe also how to put a freeze on your credit. Now, like I said, if you're a client, we put the freeze on for you. Sometimes you have to have these freezes lifted if you're trying to buy something, okay? All right, CoreLogic is a little bit different in certain ways. One thing is they're very, very popular credit reporting service as well. So a lot of mortgage companies, you see them talking about homes here, use CoreLogic just for their credit reports. All right, so it's a credit report service provider. So if you're a mortgage company, you pay them to pull the reports to qualify your clients, right? Let's just take a little closer look at their site. As you can see here, they call themselves Teletrack also, and you can request your security freeze here. And, they give you a little more detail about it. Smarter decisions, greater profits. They go on to talk about it a little more. But when you get to consumer assistance, let's just read real quick. Teletrack is a consumer reporting agency that provides consumer reports to third parties for the purpose of credit risk assessment, which is nothing more than, judging your assessment, qualifying you for different things like properties, financing. You can request a credit security freeze here. You can request your credit report here. I'm sure there's a fee for that. If it's an actual credit report, they might be talking about your CoreLogic report. You can also request an investigation, and you can opt out, okay, from unsolicited credit and insurance offers. So you can see there's a form here. You can download that form and go ahead and do that. We're not going to worry about that. But just to give you an idea, CoreLogic is also a repository. That's another word for these companies that gather information. They just gather all the information that they can get, and they sell that information. If they get enough information or enough specialized information, they can sell credit reports to creditors, right? Or credit providers. So there you go there. All right, so that's CoreLogic. And the next one we're going to look at is ARS, Advanced Resolution Services. So I could tell you guys a lot about these companies, a lot more, but there's not much to tell. I'll give you a little info on this one. Advanced Resolution Services, as they say here, will allow you to have security freezes. You can suspend or remove those freezes once you place them on. Again, they're just a large secondary credit bureau repository that is housing a lot of information that you have that has been compiled on you, and they're selling it. Okay, so this next slide is not necessarily about Advanced Resolution Services only. We're really just talking in general. The law that grants a free credit report each year applies to these small credit agencies as well. So they will have to give you a free report if you ask. These reports are tough to read sometimes, but they'll tell you what they have on you. They'll give you that information. The only difference is that you have to contact the agency directly to request a free copy of this information. So hey guys, become familiar with these small credit agencies so you know when your data might be used in a credit decision. Know what's on your report, know what information they have. This is very important. If you're trying to purchase a home, you're trying to buy something, you want to know what's out there on you. And again, thanks for watching and learning today. Give us a call if you've not signed up. We'd be glad to help you out. And you all have a good day.